Hello, heathens.
Hello, heathens.
What's up, peeps?
What what are we doing today, Cassie?
Today we are talking about patterns in life. Um, Essentially today we're going to be talking about like the difference with karmic cycles versus patterns, at least to our understanding of it. And then we're going to tell you about what those are and like the reason behind why we need them
Mm-hmm.
and what the point of it is. And the reason is so that the reason it shows itself patterns or a karmic cycle is to break that negative cycle so that we're aware of it so we can start breaking it and then reap the wisdom that comes from breaking it. So we need to understand karmic cycles and patterns to understand how they are vehicles for change in our lives so that we can heal from them. They're not necessarily, I had a hard time writing negative cycles because you know how we are, it's hard to tell you what's negative in your own
Right.
personal experience because something that could seem negative to you doesn't to me. To me, it could be something that reaps positivity. You know what I mean? So,
Right. Well, this is going to be very tailored to you and your energy, right? Your past, your
absolutely.
future, like the whole being. It's going to be very tailored to yours, right?
100%. I feel like we're going to talk about it in general terms and give good examples, I think, so you guys can start with what I believe is the biggest step, and that's just the recognition or awareness that it's even happening.
Yep. Pull the thread. That's all
Oh.
I pull the thread. You just gotta follow. You follow the breadcrumbs. Whatever euphemism you want, we got them all. Like,
We do have a lot.
yeah. I live my whole life by them. I'm a fortune cookie, I swear.
You are, and I'm not mad about it because you come up with some good ones. I have a whole list of t-shirts I want to make for you guys because Nicole has such good little like isms. It's Nicole-isms.
Nicolism.
Or what would it be? Nikki-isms.
Nickism.
Nikki-ism.
Nickism.
Um, okay, so when we talk about karma, I just want to break it down real quick so that we're aware of like what karma really is, because karma is a much bigger idea than what we're talking about today, um, which kind of blends together. Nicole said it perfectly. It's a layer. They're layered on top of each other, and it's hard to
Yeah.
distinctify them between each other.
Well, today when we're talking about this with like karma specifically, because we throw around this, again, it's another one of those words that we throw around that has such a huge meaning, but like it depends on where contexts are on what we mean. Like, if I look over and there's a guy that like kicked a dog and then got ran over by a car, then that we're like, oh, karma. Ha, ha, ha. Like,
Yeah, karma will
but
get you.
right, but that's not necessarily the whole meaning of it. It's not like you did something bad and then you get punished for it.
Right.
It's not necessarily like it gets so much bigger and deeper than just that.
Yes. So to break karma down in a very, again, a scratchy surface way, karma is a concept that states that the quality of a person's actions influence the quality of the outcome. So, in other words, like a good deed will lead to a positive outcome, whereas a bad deed will lead to a negative outcome. And
Mhm.
like these old habits and patterns can be tough to break when they're deeply rooted in the past of this lifetime or ones before that. So,
Right.
karma also doesn't go without saying that there is a belief behind karma in multiple lifetimes. For example, let's say you experienced a moral challenge in a previous lifetime that ultimately resulted in failure. Perhaps you didn't act in accordance with like the way you felt about the situation due to fear or social expectations, or because it could simply just not occur to you that there was another path you could have taken. In a karmic cycle, you'll face a similar challenge in this lifetime. So one that's really big, that is talked about a lot with past life regressions and karmic cycles is say You killed somebody in a past life. You murdered them. You could come into this lifetime having that person in your life as the oppressor. You guys decided to switch places to try to learn, you know, different things from that. And depending on how the situation is handled this time, and I'm not saying it's going to be the same situation, it could just be like, a parent, they're your parent in this lifetime and maybe they don't treat you the best, or like maybe they're going through something and your job is to help them and like, or, it could be multiple different scenarios, but essentially it's going to get played out in this lifetime for you to face again to learn a different way and like what you chose to do in that last lifetime. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay,
because
cool.
um if we play out, well, it's kind of like that Cloud Atlas movie, right? Like if you watch that, that one very much shows like how past life and how we move with what they call our soul family in these realms. So one day I may be the father, the next lifetime I am the daughter, the next lifetime I'm the neighbor. Like
Yeah.
I play the character that I need to play for expansion, growth, and wisdom.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. So like to me, that's the karmic cycle, right? Is it's much bigger. It's sometimes like we make big life choices in this lifetime too that alter our course in this lifetime that we end up playing out within the same lifetime.
Mhm.
But when we
Yeah.
talk about patterns, to me, that's where we're talking about what we expect in this lifetime due to our apprehension to move forward or to learn the lessons we're supposed to learn.
Um, yeah, because patterns are subtle and sometimes they're programmed in there already that you don't like they're just running on autopilot, so you don't even notice that they happen. Like you don't notice that every time you go into a restaurant, you get the shitty waitress.
Yes.
Instead, you're just like, well, you know,
To
a
put it
victim to it almost.
Victim, there it is. Yeah.
Mhm.
And to put it in another terms, because this just came up when you were talking like that, is that a cycle to me is the leveling up, right? It's the
Yeah.
boss you have to keep trying to beat because you haven't beat it yet. And this game can go on for, millions of levels. To me, patterns is a game of chess.
Yeah.
And like the chess piece keeps resetting because you haven't figured out where to put the chess piece at to win the game. So it just keeps resetting because you think you've
Mhm.
played the game the way you should have, but then you didn't win. So it resets again and it's a game board as opposed to a whole simulation game where you have, you know, these all these bosses to beat.
Well, they're I always call them breadcrumbs because like that's what I'm following. I'm following like, wait, I've seen that before. I felt that before. I've been here before. And not in like some woo-woo way of like, I have been here. No, like, wait a minute. I have done like, why do people keep cutting me off? That, something easy.
Yeah.
Why am I, why am I vibrating into people cutting me off? And that's what the patterns are used for, is to open our eyes to these programs that are running that we don't know that are running anymore. Like we're not aware of it.
Yes. And like patterns can be relatively easy to recognize the signs, but the caveat to that is the recognition. It is
Yeah.
becoming aware of it.
And the universe gives you these little like kindergarten steps. So when we start studying esoteric, when we start walking down the path of like buying crystals and, buying herbs and flowers or whatever we buy from the witchy stores. Um, we all know about like 1111 and the
Mhm.
angel numbers. Like this is like your gateway because it gets way
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah, it does.
But we start off and we like, oh, 1111. Oh, 1111. you know? We still do it because it's fun.
Heck
Um,
yeah, I do it
but
all the time.
that's the beginning of your path because it starts you off easy, and then you start noticing, like, little stuff. Like, I mean, God, it could be anything. Like
I mean, literally seeing for me, it's been I don't pay attention to birds per se, but I'll tell you what, there is something that just fucking rips my attention when I see a red-tailed hawk, 'cause we do have them in Michigan.
mhm.
And I know when it's a red-tailed hawk, and I don't have good vision. And I don't like birds. Birds scare me. They're just scary. And there is something that rips my attention when I see a red-tailed hawk.
Mm. A
And
red hair dog.
no, red-tailed hawk. There's just something that grabs my attention about it, and
I agree.
I immediately become aware of what I'm thinking, right? I become aware of what I was talking about or what I was
Mhm.
doing, what song I was singing to. Sometimes it eludes me because, we're not masters over here, but it could be something just as simple as that.
Yeah. It's just these little telltale things. Like, those are little helpers, like pattern helpers. Like, I like those because I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track. Like, for me, it's a lot of times it's license plates.
Oh, yeah.
They talk to me. They legit talk to me. Like, for some reason I always see egg, eat. Eat was one for a while. Or I'll see something crazy like 77777. I was like,
Yeah, like, how did you get your license plate to look like that?
right. I so plus like they're done on like times that it's meaningful. Like if I'm out going to a house cleansing and I see 4 sevens or 5 sevens, and I'm like, "Well, it's gonna be a good thing." Right? Like
Yep,
it gives me a little extra it's a little communication that I can do, right?
absolutely. I feel like also I know that we all get about get how do I say this? All right. We know that there's an algorithm to TikTok, right? And it shows you things that are they think it things will interest you. To me, there are millions of people on this app, okay? And I think that we still don't understand the capability of the Ethernet. We don't understand what this can do. And I feel like when you're seeing like readings will pop up, obviously, of tarot. They're just doing general readings for TikTok. Sometimes if it's like more than one is saying the same thing to me, I get it. It clicks and I'm like,
Mhm.
oh shit, somebody was just saying this.
Yep.
Um, or like what I like to do too is the pattern of like when we're going through a new moon or something's happening in the planets and there's a bunch of different people talking about it. So they all have their own understanding and they all have their own way of talking about things. But then there's these certain things that I start recognizing like, oh, four people have said this, two people have said this. And those are the
Mhm.
things I pick out because I'm like, that's a pattern. All these different people from all over the freaking country are saying the same things probably don't even know they're saying a similar thing. Because it's not like there's like some big group for this where they all meet and they're like, all right, we're all going to talk
We're
about this on this day. I'm like, to me, that is universal energy being used through these vessels, meaning people.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, and it also shows you like energetic matches.
That's true.
Because they wouldn't be in your line of sight. Like, okay, so I'm a match to this. And clearly this is important because now you're the second one I saw. And here's the third, right? Like, because
Yeah.
like I always say, one is a coincidence, right? Like, okay, whatever. Two is like, all right, I'm paying attention. Three is a pattern. Now I know.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I kind of like little tricks and tools that when I'm reading the world. Those are little things that I just notice, and that just takes time. Like, it's your communication with your universe.
Yeah.
You just have to trust it. And we have to get out of like this whole, again, it goes back to like bad and good. We gotta get out of like, oh, this is bad and this is good sometimes because it's about reading the message and not worrying about whether it's negative or positive, right?
Right.
We gotta look at it just like as a neutral source because sometimes we're not looking at it right or like, oh, that's bad. I can't do that.
I agree 100% too, because like we don't always know the end outcome, the end game of that pattern. We don't know why it's being shown to us. We don't know
Hmm.
why we need to heal that or what we need to do
Hmm.
in the way of, or like what's going to happen to us, not what we need to do. Because once you see it, you realize what you have to do.
Right.
Um, but you can't see the end game, and you just have to trust in the universe that they have your back. And the reason that it's being shown to you to break it is because something better is going to take its place.
Absolutely. And that's exactly it. Is that you're looking for these repeats because it's the next thing on the list. Like
Yeah.
at this point, like so I've got 1111. I trust the universe. I start noticing, license plate or um people. Like just the fact it just kind of dawned on me because we just had a conversation with one of our friends about how crazy it was up at like our work suites. And I should have it kind of makes sense now because I've seen a woman that's kind of um chaotic. And I saw her for 2 days walk back and forth my suite because it's right in the front, so I have a window. I watched her walk back and forth all day, Tuesday and Wednesday.
Oh,
But I didn't have any kind of contents with that. And it was, I noticed it.
yeah.
I noticed it every time.
That's
So
crazy.
it's just little stuff like that that you kind of like, oh, okay, like,
Yeah, and then now this doesn't also go without saying. We're not saying that patterns are only little because sometimes they are big, right?
hmm,
Sometimes they are big, and it fucking sucks when you realize that you're in a pattern. That you're repeating the same pattern because you still haven't like learned from it the first time. And
right.
I feel like one of the biggest telltale signs too is that it's you feel like it's familiar, like you've been here before, you've done this before, and
Hmm.
then you start realizing like, shit, this is familiar. I have done this. Fuck. It's like that oh fuck moment where you're like, damn it.
Well, and that's the thing, is usually it like lures you in because we're always playing out our childhood traumas.
Yeah,
So, like anything that starts up, of course it's good and familiar because like that's what we grew up with. And then when you're in the thick of it is when it shows its kind of true colors or opens up a little bit more. And that
absolutely.
and that, my friend, is when you find out that you're in a fucking pattern.
And that's when you say, fuck, because it
Yeah,
sucks.
you gotta be like, oh,
Oh,
sir,
damn it.
I gotta go. But the problem is we don't know it's a pattern until it's like 2 or 3 times because like it's a science experiment, right?
Yeah,
So the first, like if I notice this the first time and I'm like, okay, and then I finally, do all the things I'm supposed to, I'm like, ha, ha. Well, now it's gonna come in a different color. So it comes up and you're like, oh, but you're like, no, I don't know. And then you run it again. Halfway through it, you realize it's a pattern and you walk out of it. And eventually, well, hopefully, we all hope. I'm not saying, definitely not saying I'm perfect at this for sure. Because sometimes I just like it.
heck yeah.
So then it's like, I remember this one incident, I was like, no, no. But it took almost everything I had to be like, I'm not playing. Right. Because it was familiar and it was like inviting. And and that hole that it's supposedly going to fill, is still there, like, "Yeah, hi."
So funny because you're leading right into my next point of another sign is that you keep attracting the same types of people. And
Mhm.
they've even studied this psychologically, which is interesting because they have studies now that show, which is so funny because, it's funny to me, but studies show that we
I agree.
gravitate towards what feels comfortable, even if that means we end up repeating a traumatic pattern.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, sure did that, dude. I One of my biggest ones is that I repeated my one of my parental figures uh relationship patterns in my own life
Mhm.
where there were points I remember in my first relationship as like a full-blown relationship where I remember thinking to myself quite a lot that I was like, wow, I'm exactly like that person. I feel exactly like this person.
Mhm.
I'm doing everything they did with their partner. And I started
Mhm.
realizing how bad it was
Yeah.
and how like it was like not good for me or for them. And then my next relationship after that, I repeated it very slightly, repeated it one more time, my recent relationship, and then I was like, we're fucking done with that. I'm not doing that anymore. Fuck no. Nope, nope, nope.
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm
I've
good.
I've learned it.
I got it. Thank you. I understand. I now understand. I was but it was, like, hard because that there's something even this is fucked up, and I know it, but I know that you guys will understand it when I say that there's something comforting about a familiar trauma
There
in
is.
repeating it because you know what to do in it.
Well, think about this. If we're wired when we're young, right? Those wires are there. It's all we know. We're fresh slate. We're fresh concrete. Like, so we put those patterns in and then we play out these familiar tones, but they're not going to be exactly the same. And that's why it doesn't really trigger anything.
Yep.
Because you'll logically be like, well, no, this is not my dad. This is my husband. And it's like, guess
Mhm.
what? But and this is the thing, it's like I found out reading some of the stuff is like you have to have some truths or some anchors in place, right? I know that we know that we marry our parents, right? That's somewhat of a fact, right? Can we agree on
Fuck
that?
yeah.
Okay.
Jordan is literally my grandpa loves him because they are one in the same.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
I have this high up view of my grandpa. I think he's one of the best men I've ever known. And then I find out from my grandma that Jordan is a miniature grand of my grandfather.
Uh-huh.
So fuck yeah, it's the same because I'm over here like, oh, I just have to wait for the day, dude.
So if we know that, if that's the truth, then you automatically know that you married your father, right? Or
Yeah,
father
your
figure.
father figure, yep.
So that means that, hold on, I lost it. I'll get it. So if we hold on to that truth, when we're looking at something that we don't quite understand yet, then we have to know that that is what we're looking at, even though we don't trust what we're looking at. Like, no way did I marry my father. No
Mhm.
way did I like, why would I do that? That would be like blah, 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 right? Whatever. But
Yep.
those are the truths that because then what happens is magic. If you can look at this in a way to help you understand where your traumas lie or where your patterns lie, then you can see it for what it is instead of it being some like, no, this just happened and I'm a victim, right? Like,
Yes.
there's these. definitely, I really do feel like these patterns are, um, God, they're very. I love patterns. I'm sorry. I just love patterns.
Yeah, we're nerd about it because when we find
Yeah,
one, we're like dissect it immediately.
absolutely.
It's like finding like an animal that you've never seen before, and you have to figure out all the things about it.
All right. They're so good because I just wonder, it's one of those things that just makes me feel comfortable in the world that is very much like swimming in the middle of the ocean. It's a little chaotic. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's really big waves. Sometimes there's no food. Sometimes there's no people. Sometimes it's just the big vast ocean. And when we get some of these like trails of like stuff that comes through us, like it just makes me feel a little more like comforted by it.
Triggering my thalassophobia. I'm like, deep
You're welcome.
vast, nothing else but the ocean to me. um,
I realize I don't like deserts.
oh really? I can understand that.
There wasn't enough cover. Like there's not enough anything.
I love the desert. Isn't that so
Oh,
funny? I like the desert, you like the ocean. One's very dry, one's very wet. Two
I
sides
really,
of the same coin, man.
dude, when we were in where were we, California?
Palms, Palm Springs.
Yes.
Oh, I fucking loved it.
Nope.
Yeah,
Fuck all the way off. Although I would go with you again.
but I get
That
it.
no.
You know what's funny is Bella felt the same way. She's like, I just feel so exposed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
I
was like,
know
really? She
exactly
was
what
like,
she said about that. Yep.
yeah, because there's like nothing out here. There's like palm trees, and what are those covering? And I was like, I guess I
Well,
didn't think about that. That's so funny.
I noticed this when we did a trail, but it was like they're
Mm.
hills, right? But I was like, it's mountains, but it's
Oh
all
yeah, I
dirt.
forgot you went and did that.
Yeah. Well, I got halfway up, but I was in my Birkenstocks. I'm not ready for mountain climbing.
She's a sea girl.
Nobody told me. I didn't know. I know what a trail looks like in Michigan. I do not know what a trail looks like in California. I got halfway up and was like, nope, because I'm gonna slip and fall. And I'm gonna slip and fall because I had nothing to grab onto.
You'll be sliding all the way back to the car.
I'm going fast down
The
this
desert
way.
op the trail opens your car up, you slide in, it closes the door for you, said goodbye.
Okay, she's done.
She's good.
Go home. Take her back to the city where she belongs. Drop her off at the ocean. I heard she likes that. Yeah, no, nope.
Yeah, that's funny. It always I do think about that sometimes when like different climates get brought up. And I always think about how like I would say I like the city, but when it's too much city, I don't like it anymore. Like
Yeah.
New York, I can't do it. I've been one time and I have absolutely no interest in going back because it is just too much for me. It's too
Uh,
city to where like New
I
Orleans,
love New York.
perfect. Chicago even, love Chicago. It's not like too overwhelming. And for me, New York, I'm like,
Oh, New York, I was like, I felt old in the best way possible. I felt like everything was like I could see every brick being built, every like there's all these like little nooks and crannies. You have no idea where things are. Like it's so magical where stuff like pops up. It also smells like milk, but what else?
oh, shout out to the Milky New York.
Dude, I would now well, it's just like New Orleans smells, fragrant. And
New Orleans has its own punchy scent.
absolutely. Well, so does New York in the summertime because I'm telling.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I re I think it's because it's industrial, but it's been there for so long that it has its own, like, nature to it
Mm.
because it's so big and so vast.
I felt like I was in a box. It was the only way I could describe it. I was like, I just feel like I'm like everywhere I look, there's a building. I was like, I felt like it was like this box with a lid, and I was just like, hmm.
Oh, yeah, what's really fun with that is if you look up and if the wind is going just right, it almost looks like you can see the world, like, turning. It's such a freakiest, like, because you don't have any landscape, right? You just
Yeah,
have buildings around you, so all you see is this, and it made me feel like I could see the world, like, turning, which clearly you can't, but
yeah.
I
But
love
like,
Central Park. I love every building. I love
hate,
the
hates the
subway,
desert.
hates the desert. Hates the
She's a sea girl.
mm-mm.
Um, okay. Sorry for our derailment. Back on
Right?
track.
What do we
I don't know. You started talking about the ocean. I got thalassophobia. Then we talked about the desert, then the city. So
right to New York.
round it back. Um, okay. The next sign that you're experiencing a pattern is, and this is one of the signs that got me, and I'm gonna explain why it got me after, because I was like, I hated writing this one. Um, it's that you're being okay. It's that you're being faced with your fears. Like, for example, one of your greatest fears is financial insecurity. Because of this fear, you may have unhappily stayed in an unfulfilling job for many years because it's stable and secure, even though on the inside, you dream of a more fulfilling and creative career. And if you lose your job after feeling like this, it's a karmic opportunity. That's an opportunity. This is the pattern.
Mhm.
When you lose a job, you have a new opportunity that you can go and do something. And instead of staying in a job that'll cause you to have financial security, but be emotionally unfulfilled, you choose to go for a career where you could feel satisfied in both ways. But because you're not facing your fears, you're going to get stuck
Yeah.
and the pattern's going to keep happening. So
This
this
is a
hit me.
very common.
Yeah, dude, this hit me so hard because I felt like this when I went to college and I went towards, and when I left college to go towards a career in hair. Uh, I knew that being a nurse would be a super financially fulfilling job, right? I wouldn't have to worry about like damn near anything. But I got the opportunity to go and do like an internship, which is basically like a job shadow, right? And I shadowed quite a few different positions within it. And I just realized in it, I was in my last of my second year, about to graduate my second year, have my associates, and start applying to get into the bachelor's for nursing. And I had a really good chance. My grades were good. I was a good student. And I realized that I was not going to be happy being a nurse, that I wanted to find something where I could take care of people, but that was not the way I wanted to do it because what I noticed was how unhappy nurses were, at least in the place I was at. They were miserable. They were catty. There was like, I watched this one woman's light just die. She was so nice, so great. I asked for her every day. I had to shadow there if she was there. She was an LPN, not an RN. So that's like what a level lower than the registered nurse. And they can't do everything that a registered nurse does, but damn near almost all of it. And there was a new RN that got hired, and it got through the grapevine to her that she was making the same amount of money that this woman who has been there for 32 years, something like that, had been making. And it killed her.
Oof.
And I was just like, oh man, I'm not gonna be happy doing this. And I got depressed. And then I didn't search. I stayed in this depression and I kept having all these other opportunities come up, right? Oh,
Yeah.
you want something? You like the pediatric doctor's office you're working at? They're moving into a hospital. Work here. Oh, your cousin wants you to start managing and bartending. Work here. Blah, blah, blah. And of course, it wasn't until I found the path of hair that scared the fuck out of me and scared my family too, mind you, because back in the day, hairdressers didn't make money, quote unquote. It wasn't something you
Mhm.
got into to make money. It was just the frou-frou job that you just went and dressed up at. There was
They
like this big,
still think that.
oh yeah, my grandpa has been completely mind blown with the career that I've chosen and the way that I've pursued it and the success I've
Mhm.
had in it. But it was scary, dude, and I chose to leave it. Chose to jump, and I'm so glad I did and broke this like thing. It was a family thing too, because that was what I was told my whole life. You need to be a nurse. Nursing's the only thing that's going to sustain your life. That's the only financial security. You're a girl. You should be a nurse. You should be a nurse. And that was a really hard one to leave. And now I have security and comfortability, as well as happiness and a creative lifestyle and more freedom than I could have dreamed of.
Mhm.
And it's like, if I wouldn't have been able to move past this whole financial security fear that was presented to me, then I wouldn't be where I'm at. It's
Yeah.
my spiel. It's my spiel.
It's my thing. No, I think there's well, I mean, that's what everybody does. They want to kill your dream for security, you know? And
Yeah.
which is fine. Like, whatever makes you happy at the end of the day, fine. But like, are you really happy if you're taking like if you got a job with all the money, but you hate your life for 10 hours a day, what's the point of money?
Right.
Unless the money's making you happy, of course, and then who knows? I don't know anything, but like, I don't know. It's just a job is so important to me, right? Like a purpose in life, right? And I was always told that if you got a job you love, you never worked a day in your life, right? So these are the things. Like my grandpa definitely instilled in me these like words of wisdom, right? And so I always thought about that. Like if as long as I'm doing something I like, I'm never working a day in my life. And I did kind of the same thing where like I went to Eastern, did 2 years of art design school, was going to be a designer, like a computer graphic designer is what I was
Mm.
going for. And 2 years into it, and I fizzled out of that and then went right into beauty school. And it was the same way, is that that's where they put so when I went to beauty school, this is where they put all of because we didn't have Douglas J.
Yeah.
Not yet. It wasn't there yet. We had like State College of Beauty.
Mm.
And this is where they put all the pregnant women,
Yep.
all the women that couldn't like be tamed, anybody that was not really acting right, didn't fit in society. This is where they put them. Like, you're not smart enough to do college work, so now we're going to put you into a skilled trade. But you're a girl, so you can only do hair. And this
Yes.
was like in the 90s, late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still a thing. It was still like a whole uh like we think we've come so far, but like this was like in the 90s.
Yeah.
So um we uh yeah, I don't know. That's it. That's all I got
I
for
can
you.
help
I
round
don't
that
know.
out because
Yeah.
basically the whole point of us talking about this, you guys, is that you can't you're being shown a pattern when you are facing your fears. When you're being faced with a lot of your fears, it's because you need to face them and you need to move forward past them. That's why it keeps coming up into your face. It's a pattern of being faced with your fears. If you are
Mhm.
somebody who is absolutely miserable in your job and you complain every day about your job, every day, You're like, I hate this job. But then you keep getting pushed out of the job and you're not allowing it to happen. You're fighting to hold on to something that you don't want as you're physically using your words to say you don't want this
And
because
your
your fear
words, yeah,
of like financial security, whatever the situation may be, your fear is keeping you there because of the comfortability,
absolutely.
even though
Well,
you're
this
not
is
comfortable at all.
and I always have hated the fact that people will lose their job or their especially once we get older, right? We have this huge stigmata about how like, oh my God, I'm 50 and I'm not going to be worth anything. Bitch, please.
My one with that is, well, I'm 50. I can't go back to college or I can't start a new career.
Yeah.
Motherfucker,
Shut.
what? You think I'm going to be doing my hair my whole life? I mean, I might keep a little dabble in it, but like, I have other things I want to do.
Well, not only that, well, see, this is the thing though, is like, they get to this point, like I'm almost 50. I cannot uh stop learning at this point. I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
I mean, shit, at this point, I'm learning death and dying just because I'm like, I'm headed there.
Okay, I didn't see where that was going.
Well, I also no, it's actually kind of come to me as like this is going to be really helpful for um everybody around me. What's the one thing that like this is a derailment? I don't know. We're not doing this. This is not about patterns. Unless we're all dying, and then
Oh,
that's a pattern
all
too.
right. Basically, face your fucking fears, dude. You have to move
Yeah.
through them to keep moving. Otherwise, you're going to keep getting stuck in the same pattern or cycle. Um,
Yep. It's your
karmic
life,
cycle.
dude.
Yeah. Karmic
Mhm.
cycles and patterns are designed to help us heal ourselves. Okay, you guys? Like, the purpose of a karmic cycle is to ultimately achieve a higher level of ethics and moral wisdom in this lifetime. And when we start becoming more aware of like the patterns before we even get to the karmic cycles, the patterns, and we're ready to do the work to change them, we're rewarded with deeper healing and just greater actualization. There it is. Meaning like we're more aware of ourselves.
Yeah.
And you notice it, you feel it. You're like, holy shit, like this thing that kept happening in my life
Yeah.
consistently that I can't move, wasn't able to move past. Fuck that shit. I'm stronger than that.
Mhm.
Hell yeah, I don't need that. Goodbye.
Mhm.
It feels good.
Well, the more we evolve, I mean, that's what this whole thing is about is expansion. And we can't expand or we can't evolve if we're not going to like maybe as a species we evolved to, almost like slowed down. Like we're in a place where we're not evolving. Well, we did. We're evolving to a point where we actually are surviving longer than we should.
Or were.
Right. So one both of them. But now we need to emotionally expand is what we're doing.
Fucking yeah, dude. I'm telling you right now. Can you imagine? Little side note. Could you imagine being a 98-year-old with the mentality of a 12-year-old throwing temper tantrums all the time because you didn't ever emotionally evolve? Because you just didn't
Yeah.
want to, so you stayed there.
Yeah.
I can't.
I've
I want to
seen
be
it.
an old lady that knows everything and is weird
Yes.
and looks at you and says, "You're in a pattern," and you don't even know what I'm talking about. But I know what I'm talking about.
I'm just gonna have a wand that I'm gonna be like
It's gonna have a bell on the one end. So, all of this doesn't go without saying that breaking patterns isn't always easy, but it can always be done. It's
Mhm.
just sometimes it's a lot harder than other times. That also doesn't go without saying, not all patterns are negative, which is what Nicole was talking about before we started the podcast. Not all patterns are bad patterns.
Mhm.
There's some good ones that we don't recognize either. And it's because we haven't given them recognition that they keep happening.
Well, and those could also be strewn as rituals, really.
True. Didn't think about that.
Necessarily wouldn't be a pattern, it'd be more of a ritual because you're doing it every time and it's bringing you joy and like, or evolving, or, I realize that I'm doing the lesser banishing ritual for now 3 years in a row. And it's like, well, I'm doing it because it's just like cleaning my screen on my phone. Like, don't do that just once and then we don't do it ever again. So, like, when you're cleaning your
Yeah.
aura or whatever, like, it's the same thing as cleaning your screen because your aura looks like your fucking phone screen.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, have you noticed anybody with a cracked screen?
Interesting. I like that one.
Uh-huh.
Um, Next I have a few things that we can do to like try to become aware of this when it's happening.
Ugh.
And one of them is we have to try to be fully conscious in the moment. If we're practicing mindfulness, it teaches you to focus on the present, not the past or the future. And when you practice mindfulness, you become more aware of the choices you're making from moment to moment.
Mhm.
That alone is going to start bringing in more awareness in every situation in your life. And you're going to be aware when patterns are happening, regardless of if they're good or bad.
Well, this is a great place where we can be if we're centered and we're in the place of right now, of the now, then we can try to stay centered and think about it. So we consciously make a choice
Yes.
instead of reacting to it.
Or saying yes when you want to say no.
I don't know whose pattern that is. That's weird.
Hi, it's me.
Hi, it's me.
Yeah, I have the problem here. um, the next thing, you guys are gonna get fucking sick and tired of us talking about this, and I don't care. Another hill I'll die on.
You have choice. You made choices.
I made choices to be here, and this is one of the hills you are gonna watch me die on. One of
Very
the four
entertaining.
agreements becomes
Oh,
huge in breaking our patterns. Do we know which one it is, Nicole?
uh, don't assume. Don't take anything personally.
Always be impeccable with your words.
Oh,
Words are so important.
ugh,
And by keeping positive affirmations throughout your day, it's going to help you start breaking patterns. Okay. Like one of the
yeah.
patterns that we hear all the fucking time, and I am also guilty. I don't want to feel tired and lazy anymore. I don't want to. Instead of, I'm healthy and energetic.
Hmm.
Positive affirmation that breaks a negative pattern that has power.
Well, it's hard though because like me being very skeptical and very sarcastic.
Who you?
No,
Never. No.
no, not me.
No.
Um, it's hard to like, I'm pretty and skinny. And then like you got that voice behind you that's going, are you?
Well,
Are you? Are you?
we might have to have a talk about affirmations. I'm
Well,
pretty and I am healthy.
whatever, you
I
know what
love
I
my body.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
say, don't play them because here's the thing is Nicole's ass is fucking really good at affirmations. She does not do no
Yeah.
bullshit like that's
Uh,
super unrealistic.
God, no, I was actually just gonna come out and show you.
Yeah. I was gonna say, give them a little taste.
So, my new affirmation that I say 3 times a day, and I say it out loud because that's how I'm going to
Words
manifest
have
it.
power.
Yes. Also, I will tell you a trick is jot down kind of what you want and then put it through AI. And that does help, like, because it
Oh
needs to be
yeah.
pretty. It needs to be something that you like. And listen, with your all your AI haters, let me tell you something. I am dyslexic and I think I have trouble comprehending just normal shit. So I will use AI as my assistant because it takes out 4 hours of my day. You know what I mean?
Also, work smarter, not harder, dude.
Thank you.
Asking
Okay.
f- asking for an affirmation rephrase gonna do to you?
Well, the whole thing is yeah, you're gonna spend, 15 minutes on AI, or are you gonna spend 4 hours trying to figure out, like, is this right? I don't know if that's right. You
Nope,
know?
I agree with
Okay.
this.
So this is my affirmation right now. I attract unexpected opportunities to glow up my life. I with high-paying projects and jobs that highlight and enhance my skills, gift, and dedication to magic. I use these resources wisely to create equity, freedom, and opportunities for myself and others. I am lucky and everything always works out for me. Amen. And so mote it be.
Hmm. I told you fuckers. You little heathen fuckers. I told you.
Mhm.
Homegirl makes some bomb ass freaking affirmations. I'm telling you what.
The one I really like, have you heard that one with the power? I call back my power.
Yes,
Oof.
I have that one saved.
I do too. That one, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, we can put it on some list or message us some way. It is just put in TikTok or YouTube or whatever media function you're using. I call back my power. It should come up. And it's a
Yeah.
beautiful like voice that's happening and like it's got everything in it that like call back my power from all times and space and da da da. Like it's great.
Yeah, it is. That's a good one. Um, okay, the next one I have is also hard. But it is true. And it requires our egos to take a little bit of a seat.
Ugh.
That's what I'll forewarn. Uh, listen to the people you trust around you. Um, without Nicole, there are many patterns I wouldn't have seen without her shining the light on the situation. Uh, we have to be open and vulnerable as opposed to
Mhm,
defensive and closed off when a loved one comes to us and tells us that we're traveling down a familiar rocky road. Don't get me wrong.
mhm.
Nicole and I are not bitches you could tell anything to. I get it. We get it. You can't tell us not to go down that rocky path. There's a monster down there that's going to get you. When
I
I
probably
say,
told
what
myself I
mon
shouldn't go down there.
Yeah, I've told myself, but now you're telling me, and now I'm mad. And, well, what monster's down there? Well, I don't know. Have you seen it? No. Okay, then I think I'm gonna go down there and take my chances. And then guess what? You go down that road, and yeah, there's a fucking monster down there, and you saw it, and you wish you wouldn't have. It's hard to have that openness and vulnerability with people we love when they look at us and they say, "You're in a cycle. You're in a pattern. You're
Yeah.
doing this to yourself, essentially."
Uh-huh.
Fucking
But
hard.
it is hard and it's triggering. And, I think you and I have both like done it to each other enough where we've built that like level of trust.
Yeah.
Also, I know that we have to sometimes go down those to figure it ourselves because it's not cap to save a hoe. We're not doing that, right? Like
Yes.
if you're going to go down this path with this monster, I will go with you. I'm not going to shame you. I'm not going to guilt you. I'm not going to tell you I told you so. Well, maybe, but like I'm still going to be right there,
Yeah.
right? So if we know all the stuff that's going to happen, we're going to travel down it anyway
Yeah,
because
dude.
there's something that we got to pick up.
I also think that also comes with the awareness of like, for me, that goes a bit deeper with that being said, I mean that there was a point in time where I was traveling down a very familiar rocky road again and it had to do with relationships. And I kept going back and I kept going back and I kept going back. And I would have people telling me not to. And I would tell them, well, you're not in it. And because of that, people left me. And I had this sense of abandonment and I remember what it felt like. So now I do the same thing. I will mention lightly, hey, you're going down a familiar rocky road. Are you okay? You know what? I think I'm fine right now. Okay, cool. Then we're fucking walking it together. I'm not leaving you
Hmm.
during it, and I'm not going to told you I would tell you I told you so at the end either.
Right.
And I think that just comes with the awareness of like, you can't always make somebody see what you see.
No, and I know, and this, what we're saying right here is a very personal judgment or stance.
Perspective.
Yes, I wouldn't do this for just anybody,
No.
right? Um, I know that, again, if we're gonna make that kind of personal, like, I have to go. The sword is there. I have to go get it.
Hmm.
Like that's the kind of thing that I think of is the fact I'm like, okay, well, we know it's gonna be dangerous. We know that this is gonna hurt. All right, well, let's do it. It's like the whole Lord of the Ring thing. It really is the whole thing. Those 9 people went on a whole journey, right, to get rid of a ring, and they had to go literally into the enemy's camp behind doors in the thick of it.
Into the thick bit.
Oh, you have to watch this, don't you? Ah,
I
anyway.
know the premise though.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yes, I do need to watch that.
Oh, you should actually read the books. They'd probably be better.
You know what? I could probably get behind that before watching it, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because
Okay.
then I could watch it and enjoy it.
So that's the thing. So you just have to sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And this is what you were put in your life for, right? So, okay. Because we don't know. I'm not God. I'm not going to like say my choices, everything that I know and my judgment can assess the situation, but I may be missing something because I just don't know.
Right.
And that's what we really need to think about stuff about because I'm really having a hard time right now about I'm trying not to punish or judge or and just show a little compassion for people that are in a rough area. Like, do you think they really want to be there?
Yeah.
It's like the heroin addict that keeps going to the hospital, right? What are you going to do? Tell him no?
Right.
No. You put him in, you slap him up, because eventually he'll stop coming in. And then you send him back out, right? Because do you think that he's not having a hard time?
Right.
Do you think that he wants to be there? No, but you can't judge them for where they're at is where I'm trying to be at.
I agree. I think there's a difference between a loving hand and a strong hand.
Yeah, I
A
think so
loving hand
too.
that says, hey, bud, are you okay? Because, like, this feels familiar. I just want to make sure you're okay. You don't feel like this feels familiar and you're stuck. Because if so, I'll offer your hand. But if you feel okay, I'm still here. As opposed
Right.
to, get the fuck out of it. You're doing the same thing again. What the fuck are you doing? Like, why are we even here? What are we doing this for? Like, why do you want to hurt yourself? You like hurting yourself? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Difference.
There is. And it's a brushstroke of emotion. Like you use it in a power, way of like, yeah, I've talked to some people that way.
So we all
Right?
have, I think.
Right. But not in a way that's malice and well now.
Well,
Well,
mm,
but not I think if you're doing it in a way that it is from compassion, it's helpful because
absolutely.
some people do need a little hard, like a shake, right?
Yeah. And I think also when we're in a vulnerable place and we are being told that you're going down that familiar path, you can't bite somebody's head off every time. And if you do,
No,
you have to go back and lick the wounds and tell them you're sorry because
yeah,
sometimes it's really hard to hear when you're in a path, man, on the rocky path, or you're doing the same thing you've done, and it sucks, and you don't even want to be there, but you're there, and you already know it, but you're not acknowledging it because it's easier to ignore. And then you get that little loving tap on the shoulder, and you turn around and react immediately instead of like being like, "Oh, you're right, thank you, I needed that."
yeah.
It's hard on both ends, can be.
It's
But if it's coming from
complicated.
love, love
Yeah.
changes the tone of everything.
You got it there, buddy?
Yeah, sorry, I got some air stuck.
I forgot to breathe.
I know, right? Whoa. Um, okay, the last one that I have that's helpful in recognizing patterns too is your intuition. I mean, come on. Come on. Comes into play here as well. You got to pay attention to it. Your own inner knowing will send you signals when you're about to repeat something, a pattern, especially if it's a destructive one where it's like gonna be fucking wearing those like all your nervous systems are going off like a freaking fire alarm and you're just like, no, it's fine, we'll do it. And your body's like, no. Your intuition's like, no, what do you know? No,
No.
no, no, no.
No, 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 no. Well, and that's the thing, because like when you're headed down uh, a pattern like that, sometimes it starts subtle where it tells you like you stub your toe, your car won't start for some reason, they cancel. Like these things start like happening that we, and I'm a stubborn bitch. Like I will like, well, when are we rescheduling? I'll come to you. Like,
Yeah, yeah, sorry. I'm like, so what do you mean we're not doing this? What do you mean?
do you want me to send you an Uber?
Yeah, like, what do you mean?
I'll get it done. I'm walking right now.
I'm already there. I already bought the ticket. What are you talking about? We some stubborn bitches over here. You tell
That's
us
right.
something, we're gonna do it.
We're
Even
like,
if we
no.
don't want to, if we already said yes, we're doing that
Oh
shit.
my God, ain't that the truth? Patterns.
I would say to the end of all my spiel is that remember you're not alone. Okay. We have our intuition. We have people around us that love us. It's not a race. Another hill I'll die on.
It's
None
not
of
a
this is a
race.
fucking race because you'll be trying to correct patterns and karmic cycles throughout your entire lifetime. And the goal is to achieve them and to correct all of them to become more godlike.
Absolutely.
That's the end of my spiel. Cause like if you could achieve them before you pass, could you tell me all if you become a master and you ascend, could you just pause for a second, whisper the secret in my ear, and then you can go?
Right. Make sure you send me big signs.
Yeah. Write them out in black and white, dude. Easy words only.
I don't think that's how the veil works, though, unfortunately. Damn it. Yeah, I think, with patterns and karmic cycles, like again, it goes with everything else, is be gentle with yourself. Um, as long as you're moving forward, you'll learn and grow to where you want to be. Even to the fact of like when I first started doing virtual magic, I couldn't speak Hebrew. Not that I can now, mind
I was
you,
like,
but like
I will
I'm
say
a
sometimes you be hitting those words spot on, and I'm like, who the fuck are you? Anyways,
right because I've practiced.
yeah.
S- It all takes just practice. Like being human takes practice.
And dude, I will add that sometimes it's your inner knowing that's going to know what to do. People can't always tell you what to do. And that can be hard sometimes because you really just want somebody to come in and swoop and be the hero and save you because you're a damsel in distress. But secrets out, you're not. You're actually the hero in your own story. And it sucks sometimes, but like
Right.
you have to be able to trust in yourself and know that you can do this and know that your intuition and your inner knowing knows what to do.
Well, and that's what's hard about thinking for yourself. What's right for you because nobody's telling you what to do.
Who thinks for themselves? Uh, uh. Oh my God. I think we're too sarcastic for seriousness sometimes.
Absolutely.
Fucking
Well, we're doing a
God.
late night one. This is our second one today, so we're a little bit.
Yeah. As you guys, if any of you, we have one follower that I really quickly want to do a little shout out for, and her name's Meredith. She has been with us for a while, dude. She always comments on her stuff, and I appreciate reading her comments
Aw.
because she's like very interactive with her page, and I appreciate her. Um because when we did our one of our later episodes, do you find yourself dealing with dissociation, was the question to our dissociation form friend or foe, and she said my knowledge is limited to the supernatural TV show, but my guess is a tulpa. Do you remember when we were looking for that word?
That's
Thank you,
right.
Meredith. We can't write back on Spotify, but I wanted to call you out because I think it's so cool that we have somebody that's been with us for a hot freaking minute that gives us the feedback that we need.
It's tulpa.
It's
That's
freaking
right. It
tulpa.
was a tulpa. They have a whole episode on tulpas.
Yeah,
Watch Supernatural. Okay, you get all your information. Just kidding.
yeah, for real. So, as Meredith know, and many others that listen to us, though, fucking nighttime episodes, dude, gets a little weird. You want to see the weird version? Watch the ones or listen to the ones of us at night. It's Heathens at night, baby.
Heathens at night. Absolutely. Well, also I would say again, if you have any questions about patterns, if you want us to help you read patterns or, you know, anything like that, reach out to us. We can help as best as we can help.
Yeah, dude. We don't always have the answers, but we'll try our damn hardest to. And if we don't,
Absolutely.
we'll try to help you figure it out, or at least give you a little breadcrumb you can follow.
Right. A string to pull, if you will.
A string to pull. Um, our next episodes, Nicole's gonna be so excited. Have you looked? Do you know what it is? Our next episode is programming and deprogramming.
Oh.
You hear all that excitement in her voice?
Oh.
Well, the vision of
Prog-
excited.
I well, and it's kind of fun to go through programming as in programming because I don't think we've ever actually had like a really deep conversation about programs. It's always like a left fielder or something. Like, oh, it's a program.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we talk about this often. A lot of these words we just throw around, like, oh, you're programmed, or I'm deprogramming, or like, you need to deprogram. And like, sometimes those words can be weaponized, right? And so, like,
Hmm.
I think that knowing what programming is, how it happens, and then how to deprogram when you want to, or program something new in, because that happens too, believe it or not. I think it's important to
Yeah.
know all of this so that we can use these. Our words have fucking power. Hill
Yeah.
to die on. Our words have power. For agreements, dog. Be impeccable with your words. And how can you be impeccable with your words when you don't know the words you're using?
Hmm.
Helping.
Helping.
Help it.
Well, this is kind of too of like us like waking up is like we understand this a little bit better. We understand that words have power a little bit better. Like it's not so distant. It's not such a distant um reality anymore for me. It's closer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by that? Like it's not so like fantasy
I'd
or
say
woo woo.
there's more on my paper in my Word document than just words have power now.
Yeah.
I'm starting to fill
Yeah.
up the page, and hopefully it'll end up being a whole ass fucking thing. But right now there's some more words getting on there about what that means, as
Yeah.
opposed to just words have power, period.
Right, right. Instead of just having just three words, now you have a whole dissertation of it, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, man. I'm excited to go over that. Like I am with every episode, of course. We have a few more episodes of this like interpersonal work, and then we get into the four agreements, and then we get into some really fun stuff. If you
Oh,
can't
four
tell,
agreement's going to be fun. I like
I'm
that.
so excited. I need to read the book again for like the whatever time it is. But
Agreed. Agreed.
all right, peeps. Hope you guys have a good week and we'll see you next Thursday.
See you next Thursday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.